I have no idea what the Tennessee Titans are doing, but they just fired Mike Vrabel, a guy that had a 54-45 record in 6 seasons with this team. Mike Vrabel made the postseason in 2019, 2020, and 2021. Now, they did have an epic collapse last season, but a lot of it was due to injuries on the back half of the season. Mike Vrabel, in my opinion, was a very good head coach with this team, and this is a stupid move because it wasn't all on Mike Vrabel. Yes, you had a horrible offense coordinator a couple years ago with Todd Downing, but they fired Todd Downing and they went into another situation with their brand new offensive coordinator. Ryan Tannehill is no longer a starting caliber quarterback in the NFL. So you went with Will Levis. After Ryan Tannehill went down with an ankle injury, they went in with Malik Willis in the game in London, and he was no good. Malik Willis is just a backup quarterback at best, but Will Levis showed a lot of good. He had that great game against the Atlanta Falcons. He had 4 passing touchdowns. He looked strong against the Pittsburgh Steelers in a valiant effort, but they lost that game. But they dealt with a lot of injuries this season. And this is a team that has a lot of question marks because the offensive line needs a complete rebuild. Derrick Henry is more than likely on his way out with this team as well. And Ryan Tannehill will no longer be with this team either. And this is a team just a couple years ago that was running the AFC South division with A.J. Brown, Ryan Tannehill, and Derrick Henry. And you no longer have any of those guys on this roster after this season, which is crazy. And they will no longer have Mike Vrabel either. They do have some key pieces. I really like Will Levis a lot. I like the running back, Tajay Spears, as well. But they're going to have to bring in another running back to fill in that void of Derrick Henry. Because even though Tajay Spears has had a lot of good carries with this team, he's not a lead running back with this team. We've seen it over and over again across the NFL. You look at the situation with the Dallas Cowboys. They let Ezekiel Elliott go. It proved that Tony Pollard cannot be the leading running back with the team. Tajay Spears could come in. He could be a very explosive running back, but you need a guy that can come in there and get you those tough 3 to 4 yards. And hopefully they can do that. I assume that DeAndre Hopkins will not be with this team next season either because he is on a 2-year contract, but he was hoping that the team was going to make a playoff run, and they did not come close to that. Treylon Burks is also a wide receiver I'm looking at sideways as well. Has struggled with injuries the last 2 years. He suffered a nasty concussion against the Steelers this season, and last season he was dealing with a turf toe injury. He only had 16 receptions for 221 yards. And I go back to what that general manager did. When he traded A.J. Brown, he pretty much altered his franchise. There was no reason to trade A.J. Brown. The only reason they did that is because they did not want to go out there and pay A.J. Brown, and they felt like Treylon Burks could come in and he could be that number 1 wide receiver that could fill that void. Instead, he has not been that guy just yet. And you look at other wide receivers on this team. Chris Moore is also a guy that's been with this team, 424 receiving yards. He's not a true number 1 wide receiver. You have Nick Westbrook-Akine, who showed a lot of good, but he's not a true wide receiver either in terms of being a number 1 option. 370 receiving yards and 3 receiving touchdowns. They're going to have to go out there and find a true number 1 wide receiver to help out Will Levis. I do think that Will Levis will be a franchise quarterback with this team in limited action this season. He had 8 passing touchdowns to 4 interceptions, and 4 of those touchdowns came against the Atlanta Falcons. And he suffered with some injuries as well because the offensive line is so terrible, and he had a guy step on his foot against the Houston Texans, and he was not able to finish out that game. And their defense needs a lot of work as well. Harold Landry missed all last season dealing with a torn ACL. This season he comes back, returns right back into form, 10.5 sacks on the season. And then you also have Jeffrey Simmons, who is a star defensive player with this team as well, 5.5 sacks and 1 forced fumble. But you look at their secondary. Their secondary was atrocious. Sean Murphy-Bunting was the best corner with this team. But you look at a guy like Caleb Farley, who was no good this season. And he didn't even really have action this season. But we have seen him in the past. He hasn't been a good corner. And the same with Christian Fulton as well. So they need a complete revamp at that cornerback position. And I look at the rest of the defensive line. They're getting older, but they're still solid. I like Danico Autry a lot. 11.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. He was the best pass rusher this season with this team. Looked very good. But he's 33 years old. He's going to be 34 next season. And this seems like this team is entering a complete rebuild. But firing Mike Vrabel, I do not believe that was the right thing to do. This is a guy that got the most out of this team this season. They just beat the Jacksonville Jaguars for the last game of the season. This is a guy that was a physical head coach, and he's not going to have a problem finding work anywhere else in the NFL. If the Patriots let Bill Belichick go, he will more than likely be their number one target to be the head coach. Also look at the Atlanta Falcons as well. But this, in my opinion, is a terrible move for the Tennessee Titans, and it seems like they're going in a completely different direction. I hope that they can hire the right head coach, because Will Levis is a special player. That's a very special guy. I really do believe that. Strong arm, big in the pocket, and he's a big quarterback. He will go out there and throw interceptions from time to time, but he was just a rookie. Give him a full offseason with this team. Give him those full starter reps with those guys, and hopefully he could be in a good situation. But they have to build around this kid. But you look at the moves the last couple of years, they haven't made any sense. Trading A.J. Brown still hunts this team, and that is something the former general manager did with this team. And firing Mike Vrabel may have long-term repercussions with this team, but we will see. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you feel about this move? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, when each and every last one, guys, stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Peace.